No, it's good. Thank you.
Oh, you changed your mind?
Well, because you came up here, and I just want to be like you.
No.
So,
But if you felt
I'll
more
stay up
comfortable
here.
at the table, you should.
I did, but
No, but it's okay. I just wanted to do it up here so I could lay the paper down here and I don't have to be standing holding my hand.
oh, it's not a problem. It's not a problem.
Now I messed you up.
No, no, we'll be fine. Can you also tell them that if they have questions, they have to go to the mic?
Yes, yes, I'll tell them.
First one to the mic should turn it on, too.
Okay. Okay.
And besides, if I stand up here, they can't see all my facts.
See.
Behind the podium.
Okay.
Sitting up here, showing my little prayer cloth.
Oh, see.
Presentation is streamed via live. It's a live stream.
Live stream.
And there is no WebEx.
Oh,
So
okay.
you can't view it via a webinar. So
Okay.
to view the presentation, if you're remote, to view the presentation, click the link to the live stream.
So I'll tell people that. So hold up. So wait a minute. So say this again. Hold up, wait a minute. So if you want,
So you could say to
Want
view
to
the
view.
presentation remotely, just click the link to the live stream. There is no webinar.
to live stream.
Yeah, to
Okay.
live stream. That's
Stream.
it.
Okay. Okay. Should we start? When are you ready? Are we ready? We ready? Okay. Hello, everybody. My name is Stephanie Gates Edwards. I am a benefits and retirement specialist in the Division of Pay and Benefits. I would like to welcome you all to today's presentation for TSP Pre-Separation Workshop. I would like to introduce our guest speaker, Arvelo Collins. Arvelo Collins joined the staff of the Federal Retirement Thrift Investment Board in September of 2013. She is a TSP Agency Liaison Specialist in the Office of Communications and Education. Her responsibilities include conducting agency training sessions and participant briefings. Arvelo is a veteran of the United States Air Force. She also spent 17 years in the private sector as an administrator and a financial advisor for retirement plans of various organizations. Arvelo holds a BA in finance from the Notre Dame of Maryland University. I would like you all to help me welcome Arvelo Collins. Prior to Arvelo speaking, I just want to just put out some agency information. Questions online. We will take a break, for people submitting questions online. And for the in-house questions, if anybody has questions in-house, if you can go to the microphone in the center aisle. And the first person at the microphone, if you would turn it on. Any questions can be submitted to the HR Center Help Desk at cms.hhs.gov. And also, if you want to view the presentation, there is no WebEx, so if you could click the link to live stream. And also for you all to remember that open season for health insurance open season is coming, and we will be hosting an open season health fair on November the 6th in the same location. Thank you very much, and please again welcome Arvelo Collins.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. How are you? Really, are you really good, or are you really a little anxious about the material you're about to receive? Can you hear me okay? Oh, I can hear me good now. I mean, can you hear me good? Yes, no? How about now? Is that better? Good. As Mrs. Gates Edwards said, my name is Arvelo Collins. I'm a TSP Agency Liaison Specialist. I'm a federal employee just like everyone here. My agency is the Federal Retirement Thrift Investment Board. We're a small agency located in DC. We have approximately 300 people in our agency, and our sole responsibility is the oversight and administration of the TSP. TSP currently has 5.2 million participants and over $500 billion in assets under management. Those two things alone makes TSP the world's largest 401k type plan. And so today, over the next couple of hours, we're going to talk about how you can get your money out of TSP. Wow. I was good until that point, wasn't I? I was boosting us up, and now you're going to take it all out. Okay. That's okay. That's what it's here for, right? So it's after lunch. I just need to take a pulse. Did you have a good lunch? Yes. Are you awake? Yes. I see some waters. I see some big cups of juices and sodas, so everybody should be clear, right? This little thing is made of metal. If you fall asleep, I would throw it at you. Just kidding. How many people here are within, no, not within, let me see. How many people here have 15 plus years of service? Excellent, that's awesome. How many people have here 20 years or more? 25? 30? 35? Okay, seriously, how many of you just completely overstayed your welcome? That's all right, we love you anyway, and we're again going to tell you how to get your money out of TSP when that day comes, because those of you who have raised your hand, you hold the power. Make me mad, and I'm out the door. The rest of us, make me mad, I'll be back tomorrow. So we're going to take care of that. In the pre-separation workshop on our agenda today, we're going to talk about the first steps to preparing for separation. We're going to talk about how to turn everything that you've accumulated in TSP into the income that you need for retirement. And we'll talk about the rules of those retirement income options. We'll talk about death benefits and how to prepare your legacy. I'll give you some resources. And those of you who are taking off tomorrow for a long weekend can be out of here and on your way. Sounds good? What we won't talk about today are the investment options, the 5 core funds, CSFING, and the 5 life cycle funds. We also will not be talking about the difference between traditional and Roth. And if you'll do me a favor and try to hang in with the presentation, I'm 99% certain that your questions will be answered as we go through, but I'll try to break as early as possible so that we can get some of your questions answered. Are you ready? Okay, so you will have to talk to me because, yes. Thank you. All right, great. So preparing for separation, these are the steps that you need to take before you separate from service. So one of the things that you should know that we will be talking about primarily TSP. TSP is designed to supplement your fixed income resources. For many of you, that's Social Security and pension, specifically for those of you who are FERS employees. How many people here are CSRS? Raise your hands. Okay, you can stay. We'll try to hold back our jealousy. So CSRS has one component of retirement that won't be included, and that's Social Security. But always remember this, there's no such thing as too much money. So the fact that you're here means that you realize that there is a benefit to supplementing your pension by participating in TSP. So that's a good thing. So part of your homework, I won't come over to check it unless you're cooking, but part of your homework is you want to list all of your expected fixed income sources. Social Security, pension, not just pension from the federal government, but maybe pension from other organizations you may have worked with. In my opinion, if you've worked for anyone 5 years or longer prior to coming on with the federal government, you should contact them when you get to age 60, 65 to find out if there's a pension there for you, because oftentimes there is. That's an example that happened to my mother. She just went on, you know, living her life until one day she received a letter in the mail saying that because of the time frame that you work for us, we have a pension for you. It was a very, very small pension. It was enough to give her her favorite soda every month, but it was her money. And that's what's the most important thing is. So definitely go back to your previous employers to find out if you have any fixed income available to you. Then you're going to subtract from that expected need. What will you need your income to support you? How will you need it to support you in retirement? Will you still have a mortgage? Apparently, we're the first generation of folks who will retire with a mortgage. Remember, our parents and grandparents would retire after 30 years, and that was also an occasion to burn the mortgage. Well, because of the way our society works today, many of us will still have a mortgage when we get to retirement. So that's something you'll want to consider. You may have younger children that are still in school. You may be like me, a part of the sandwich generation who has a child still in your pocket, even though he can have his own pockets. And then you have parents that you're taking care of as well. So all of those are expenses that you will need to account for when you get to retirement. What is left is designed for your TSP to take care of. So once your fixed income has taken care of your fixed expenses, then your TSP is designed to fill in the gaps along the way. Currently, the contribution limit for 2018 is $18,500. That's the maximum contribution limit for everyone in this room. If you are turning age 50 or older, you can do an additional $6,000. That's called the catch-up limit. That's saying, for example, if you're putting in $18,500 a year and you've ever said to yourself, I wish I could do more, and you're over the age of 50, that's where the catch-up contributions come into play, okay? It is permissible for you to contribute these amounts within the year or prior to the year's end. They're all based on a calendar year. So let's say, for example, you retire from federal service in October and you're planning to go work for another institution. Keep in mind that the contribution amount that you contributed to TSP will be added to what you can do in your next job. So if your next job is a 401k, it falls under the 18.5 limit as well. So you want to consider that so that you do not exceed the contribution limits. The IRS is the institution that submits or dictates what that contribution limit will be. And sometime this month, they will let us know if 2019 will see an increase in contribution limits or if they'll stay the same. So you can be aware of that. I think your agency may announce those limits. If not, you can always go to our website and we will show you what the new limits are, okay? Maximizing your match. This is specifically for FERS employees, and this is an idea of how you want to ensure that you get all of the matching contributions that you're entitled to throughout the year. So here's how the matching contributions work. Dollar for dollar on the first 3%, 50 cents on the dollar for the next 2%. So that means you need to put in 5% or more to get the full match of 4%. You automatically get 1% simply for showing up to work every day with the beautiful smiles that you have on your face. That's an automatic. But you have to do 5 to get the full 4. And those contributions, those matching contributions come in every pay period. So if you contribute a pay period, you get a match every pay period. If you don't contribute, you don't get a match. Make sense? So let's see how that looks with our two employees, Ed and Susan. Ed and Susan both make the same amount of money every pay period, $3,000 a pay period. But they're contributing to TSP differently. Ed is contributing based upon a percentage. Susan is contributing based upon a dollar amount. Susan says, you know what, I want to take that $18,500 and spread it out over the course of 1 year. She's paid 26 pay periods, just as Ed is. So 30% of $3,000 is $900 a pay period. So of course, that's well above the 5% that he needs to get the full match of 4%. So his 4% matching is $120. You with me so far? Susan is doing $712. I think, if memory serves me correctly, that's approximately 23%. And as such, it's well above 4% as well. So she too gets the full $120 a pay period. And so as you can see, they're contributing different amounts, but they're eligible for the same matching contribution. And this is also an example of why you should not compare your TSP to your coworker's TSP, because you never know how much they're contributing, you never know how they're contributing, nor do you know how long they've been contributing. So definitely that's a cautionary example. So let's go all the way up to pay period 21 for each participant. As you can see, pay period 21 with Ed, he only received $500. And that's because we at TSP will not allow you to exceed the maximum contribution limit. So when Ed got to pay period 21, he'd already reached his maximum for the year of $18,500. And because he cannot contribute anymore, the maximum amount of matching contributions he's receiving is $2,520. Make sense? Susan gets to pay period 21. She's put in $14,952. Can she keep contributing? Are you sure about that? I need a confident yes or no. Yes. Yes. And so she keeps going all the way to the end of the year. And as you can see, pay period 26, we only received $700. Same as Ed, we're not going to allow her to exceed $18,500. But because she made a contribution every pay period, she gets a match every pay period. So she ends the year with $600 more in matching contributions for a total of $3,120. So there's a couple of reasons why Ed cut off at the middle of the year or near the end of the year. One reason could be that because he's doing a percentage, it's too high. So he'll need to decrease his percentage so he can spread his money out over the course of a year. So for those of you who are contributing based upon a percentage amount, you really want to monitor how much you're putting in, because it could max you out too quickly and you miss out on matching contributions. Make sense? In fact, I would suggest that if you are doing the maximum contribution limit every year, that you switch from percentage to dollar amount. Because think of this, if you're doing a percentage amount, what happens when your income goes up? That means more money will come in, which means that you could get to that maximum quicker than you anticipated. But if you do like Susan has done and taken the maximum and divided it by 26, you're less likely to miss out on any matching contributions. The second reason that Ed could have maxed out so quickly is because he's planning to retire early. So he's saying, you know what, I'm retiring before the end of the year. My main concern is trying to dump all the money that I can into my TSP. I'm not really concerned about my matching. So everyone has a different objective, and that's one that could be his. Make sense? Any questions? Okay. Catch-up contributions. Again, catch-up contributions are available to participants who are turning age 50 and older. You are eligible to contribute towards catch-up January 1 of the year you reach the age of 50. So let's say, for example, I'm turning 50 in August. Okay, that's not really an example that actually happened. I need a moment. Okay, I think I'm all right. So because I turned 50 in August, that means January, the first pay period of January, I can sign up for the catch-up. Only if I'm planning to do $18,500. So as such, you have to go into your system every year to recertify your intention to contribute towards catch-up. You're essentially telling TSP that you're planning to put in 18.5 or whatever the maximum will be, and that's why you're doing an additional amount towards catch-up. Really quickly, what's your system, Mark? Are you EPP, Employee Express? MyPay. Oh, you're military. Oh, that's wonderful. Thank you. Okay, I digress. I have moments of ADD. You please bear with me, okay? So you'll have to log into MyPay and select Catchup Contributions when you do, when you want to participate towards Catchup, and you'll have to do that every year. Also remember that Catchup Contributions can only be sent in by dollar amounts, and finally, there are no matching contributions on Catchup Contributions. So that means that if, and we've done studies where we've shown, where we are able to see that people who reach the age of 50 have stopped contributing towards 18.5 and started contributing towards catch-up, missing out on those matching contributions. So that's not how it works. You have to fulfill the regular contribution limit of 18.5 first, and then do an additional amount towards catch-up, okay? Loan consideration. So we're still employed with the federal government. We're working our way to retirement. If you have an outstanding loan, once you get to retirement, if you separate from service with a loan, you must settle that loan within 90 days of retirement. And that simply means that that loan has to be cleared off of your account before you're able to take any withdrawals from your account. Okay, so you have a couple of options. You can re-amortize, and re-amortize simply means changing the pay period amounts that you have. So for example, if you have a general purpose loan that you have to pay back over 5 years, you realize that you're about to retire in 3 years, then you can re-amortize that and shorten the payback period to 1, 2, or 3 years. Does that make sense? Or you can make additional payments before separation. This is the only time we will accept personal checks, cashier's checks, and money orders that for the repayment of the loan. So any of those methods attached to a loan coupon can be submitted to TSP for the repayment of your loan. Finally, what's going to happen when you separate from service? Here's how it works. Once you separate from service, CMS will send us an S code, and that S stands for retirement or separation. Once we get that S code in the system, a packet of information will be generated and mailed to you. Inside that packet of information will be everything you need to know about your TSP account, your balance, verifying your beneficiaries, and then letting you know what your options are when withdrawing those monies. If you have an outstanding loan on your account at the time that you separate, inside that packet will be a letter that's titled Intent Not to Repay. So you have a couple of options with that letter. You can say, you know what, I'm not going to pay the rest of this loan. I'm just going to sign that letter. Once you sign the letter, that outstanding balance will be reported to the IRS as a withdrawal, and you'll have to pay taxes on it. So let's say, for example, I retire from federal service, and I originally had a $10,000 loan. At the time that I retire, I still owe $2,000. If I sign the intent not to repay, that $2,000 will be reported as income, and I'll have to pay taxes on it. Make sense? In addition to that, well, another option is I can say, you know what, I have $1,000, so let me write a check for $1,000, submit it with my loan coupon, and then sign the intent not to repay for the other $1,000. And then you can do it that way. So definitely you have 90 days from time of separation to remove that loan from your TSP account so that you can go on to make withdrawals from your account when you're ready. Okay? Personal data. So you've all seen your annual statements and your quarterly statements. when you get to retirement or prior to retirement, you want to verify that all the information on your statements are correct. So you want to make sure your address is correct, because once you separate from service, we're going to be sending you a lot of letters because we love you. Okay? And then you want to verify that your participant information is correct. This is important. I need you to do this prior to retirement. On your quarterly statement or your annual statement will be your retirement coverage. If you are FERS, your statement should say FERS. If you're CSRS, your statement should say CSRS. If your statement is different than what you are, please, for the love of all that is holy, do not retire until that's fixed. Because that essentially means that you may have money in your account that you're not entitled to, or there may be money that you're entitled to that's not in your account. Simply meaning FERS gets a match, CSRS doesn't. If it's reversed, there needs to be a correction. So you want to make sure you verify that information before you separate from service. Okay? How much do we pay to participate in TSP? 33, somebody said nothing? Not much. Yes, I'm a cheap date. 33 cents for every $1,000 is what you pay to participate in TSP. What does that cover? Everything. It covers me and my agency. It covers the materials that you have. It covers the website. It covers the thrift line when you call for questions or you need assistance with your account. It covers all of that information. In addition to that, anytime you submit a form, whether it's a form to update your address, your beneficiary information, or a form to withdraw monies or to transfer monies in, no additional fees. That 33 cents covers it all. That's a big difference from your average 401k plan, which charges about an average of $4.30 for every $1,000. And that has a lot to do with the fact that 401k companies have to contract financial institutions in to provide them services, and that costs a lot of money to do that. So the low fee that we pay is one of the main reasons why people transfer those monies into the account. So you are able to do that. You are able to transfer or rollover money into your TSP account as long as you have at least $200 in your account. Okay? That keeps your account open. Okay? And you can do it whether you're actively employed or whether you've separated or retired. Okay? So how does it work? Let's assume you have a traditional TSP. Traditional means pre-tax. If you have any of the monies in that funnel, traditional IRA, traditional 401k, 403b, 457b, all of those monies are eligible to be transferred into your TSP by completing a TSP 60. You can get that form either online or you can give us a call at the thrift line and we'll mail it to you. What's the number to the thrift line? You all have pens, you write this down. 877-968-3778. 877-968-3778. When you call that number, always press the number 3. When you press the number 3, you'll get a live person to assist you, okay? So again, if you need this form, call that number. A traditional IRA, people typically have that for one of two reasons. One reason could be they worked for an employer, and when they left, the employer said either you take this money, pay taxes and penalties, or transfer it to an IRA. So they've transferred those monies to an IRA, and it's been sitting there. Another reason for a traditional IRA is they've been saving in addition to what they're saving in TSP. A traditional 401k was originally designed for for-profit companies to allow their employees to save for retirement. A 403b is the sister plan to the 401k plan because it's for employees of nonprofit institutions like churches, hospitals, universities, school systems. 457b is a retirement plan for state and local government employees. So the state of Maryland employees will be eligible to participate in a 457b. All of these simply tell the IRS where you work or who you work for. And that's why you can transfer those monies in. On the right-hand side, you have a Roth TSP. Roth means after tax. You look at the funnel, the one type of money that's missing is the Roth IRA. And that is because per IRS guidelines, you cannot transfer a Roth IRA into an employer-sponsored plan like TSP or one of the FERS. So those monies only can be transferred in by completing a TSP 60R. And again, the main reason that people transfer those monies into the account is the low fees, okay? And also, as you're getting closer to the age of 70 and a half, always remember that all of the FERS, if you have money in any of the FERS plus your TSP, you will have to take a required minimum distribution out of every single account. If you have multiple traditional IRAs, you can aggregate your required minimum distribution between the IRAs and just have it come out of one. Make sense? Separately for employer, aggregate for traditional. Roth IRA, you do not have a required minimum distribution on Roth IRAs, okay? As a friendly, and we'll talk about that more as we go forward. As a friendly reminder, you cannot transfer or roll over a Roth IRA, an education IRA, an inherited IRA, and before you ask, I'm sorry, we cannot accept your spouse's IRA, okay? Only your retirement accounts that fall under these categories, okay? What's the difference between a transfer and a rollover? A transfer is the simplest, cleanest way to get monies into the TSP. It's also known as a direct rollover because it's going from institution to institution. So let's say, for example, I worked for ABC Widget Company and I had $10,000 in their 401k. If I do a direct rollover, they will take that $10,000, make the check payable to the Thrift Savings Plan for the benefit of Arvelo Collins, and they'll send that full $10,000 to TSP to be applied to my account. Even if they send it to me because the check is made out to TSP, I will connect it to or attach it to the TSP 60 and send that into TSP. Make sense? A rollover is a little bit more complicated because there's a pit stop in the process of a rollover. A rollover is also known as a 60-day rollover or an indirect rollover. And the pit stop is you as the participant. So again, let's go back to when I worked for ABC Widget Company and I had $10,000 there. If I choose to do an indirect rollover, then they will take that $10,000, withhold 20% in taxes. I will get a check for $8,000. I have 60 days from the time that that money came out of that old account to get it into TSP to avoid any taxes or penalties. If I can only get the $8,000 into TSP, I will have to pay taxes and possibly penalties on that $2,000. What are the penalties? The penalty is 10% IRS penalty if you're under the age of 59 and a half, okay? And then you'll have to pay taxes. Or if I get the $8,000 and I come up with that extra $2,000, I can send both into TSP with the TSP 60 to avoid any taxes or penalties. What will happen is the old company will issue a 1099 showing what was distributed. TSP will issue a 1099 showing what was received, and they'll wash one another out, okay? But again, that's the convoluted process. So we always recommend that you do a direct rollover or a transfer, depending on what the instructions are on your paperwork, okay? Always remember, I think I said this before, but always remember that your rollovers and transfers do not affect your contribution limits. So I'm looking out at an audience of TSP millionaires. So that simply means that you can contribute $18,500 and transfer your $1 million from your old company into TSP, right? TSP millionaires. Don't shake your head too hard because then people will know what you are. They'll start asking you for money, okay? All right, anyone here with a uniform services account and a civilian account? If you have both, you are eligible to combine those accounts by completing TSP 65 once you have separated from one or the other. So for example, if you're retired military and you have a TSP account, now you are an active federal employee, now you can complete the TSP 65. If you have a coworker who's fairly young and they want to separate from CMS and join the military, then once they've separated from CMS, then they can actually combine those accounts, okay? The only thing that we ask of you is that if that's what you're planning to do, that you do it prior to the age of 70 and a half so that you can have those accounts combined before you reach the age of 70 and a half. Also remember that as a uniformed services member, if you have any monies in that account that's considered tax exempt, that means contributions that you made while serving at a tax exempt territory, combat zone tax exempt territory, then you cannot combine those monies. They have to remain separate in order to keep that tax exempt status, okay? And you will need your spouse's signature once you decide to combine those monies. Okay, so we're going to get into some things that's going to be a little bit, not confusing, I think it'll be okay. So TSP, age-based withdrawals. Age-based withdrawal. I don't like that name, even though I love my agency. I don't like that name. I like 59 and a half withdrawals better. So once you reach the age of 59 and a half, current rules say that you have a one-time opportunity to take an age-based withdrawal once you've reached the age of 59 and a half, okay? At 59 and a half, the minimum is $1,000. The maximum is your entire vested account balance. You can transfer or roll that money over, or you can take it as a distribution and pay taxes on those monies. One time only. With the new rules, you'll be able to make multiple age-based withdrawals, okay? And we'll talk about the new rules in just 1 second. Always remember that when you take an age-based withdrawal, you can still continue contributing. Also, with an age-based withdrawal, if it's coming from traditional TSP, every withdrawal you take will be taxed as ordinary income. So it will be added to the income that you made during the year. So age-based withdrawal is only if you're still working and you're 59 and a half or older. So let's say, for example, you have some credit card bills that you want to pay off. You have the credit card bills that you want to pay off, and you say, you know what, I got some extra money in my TSP. Well, not really extra. I have some money in my TSP. I'm 59 and a half. I want to pull that money out. So let's say you make $60,000 a year. You pull $40,000 out of your TSP once you've reached the age of 59 and a half. Because it's in the year that you've been working, you'll be taxed as if you made $100,000 that year. And so for some, that might put you in a higher tax bracket. So that's something that you definitely want to consider before you actually decide to take this option. So TSP retirement income options. So what this means is we have officially retired. So you're all good with what you need to do before you separate from service, because now we're going into retirement. You with me? You don't look happy. That means you still want to keep working? Is that what that means? So what we need to know is what? If you have a loan, how many days after you retire must you pay that loan off? 90 days. What do you need to review to make sure it's accurate before you retire? Your statement, exactly. If you want to get an age-based withdrawal, how old must you be? 59 and a half. What's the minimum? $1,000. What's the maximum? All of it. Can you still keep contributing if you take an age-based withdrawal? Yes. Yes. And how many times under current rules can you take an age-based withdrawal? One time. Exactly. You're good. I'm so proud of you. All right. How many of you have heard of the TSP Modernization Act of 2017? Excellent. It's also known as the Additional Withdrawals Program. And this law was signed by the President November 17, 2017. And it says that you now have more freedom and flexibility to withdraw monies from your TSP account. It also says that we at TSP have 2 years from the signing of that law to put this information into place. And I can tell you that we have been working feverishly to make sure that 5.2 million participants will be able to exercise these new rules. Okay? So 2 years from the signing of the law, so we have until November 17, 2019, almost a year from now, but I can tell you that we're on target to beat that date. Okay? And so there's information on our website that will tell you what the new rules are, but I'm going to try to tell you those rules as we go along. Is that fair? Okay. So one of the rules that we just talked about, which was the age-based withdrawal, under the current rules, how many times can you get it? Once. Under the new rules, you'll be able to get it out, I believe, between 4 and 5 times. Okay. Now we're going to talk about partial withdrawals after separation, full withdrawals after separation, and required minimum distributions. And as I'm explaining to you each one, I'll tell you what the old rule is and then what the new rule will be. Is that good? Okay. So post-service withdrawals, this is what you can do once you separate from service. You can take a partial withdrawal, which is taking a lump sum out. You can take a full withdrawal. A full withdrawal is not taking all of your money out at one time. It's telling all of your money how you want it to come out differently. Do you want to get it out as monthly payments, as annuities, as a lump sum, or as a combination of all three? Make sense? So full withdrawal, think of it as, you know what, I'm ready to start using TSP as income. So now it's time for my full withdrawal. So partial withdrawal, here's the rules with the partial withdrawal. The minimum is $1,000. The maximum is your entire vested account balance. You can get it one time only. You can transfer it or roll it over, or you can take it as a distribution and pay taxes on it. Does that sound familiar? What does it sound like? The age-based withdrawal. Exactly. The difference is with a partial withdrawal, you must be separated from service. That's the difference. Partial withdrawal, you must be separated. Age-based, you must be employed. The other difference with the current rule is if you've taken your 59.5 age-based withdrawal, you cannot take a partial. So it's one or the other. Make sense? That's the current rule. With the new rules, you'll be able to do both. You'll be able to take an age-based withdrawal up to 5 times, and then a partial withdrawal, you'll be eligible to take one every 30 days. Okay? So those are the new rules. So what's the best way to handle this? Let's do this. I'm going to give you an example. It's a little story. You want to hear a little story? It's not really a story. It's just my philosophy on life. I have a son. He's 25 years old, and if he sees this video on YouTube, he's going to call me. But I have a son. He's 25, and he lives away. And when he comes home, the one thing that he likes to do is what? Borrow my car. My car is not a luxury car. It's not a leisure car. It is a car that gets me to work every day or to the train station every day on 2 things, a wing and a prayer. Okay? I cannot afford to have that car do anything else but get me to work. So when he comes home, he doesn't realize how important that car is to me. So he treats it the way he would treat his own car. You know, turn the music up, drive on fumes. He's 6 feet tall. I'm 5'2". So the seat is all the way in the back. So when I get in, I'm like this, right? And because it's an old car, like you all have the new cars in the new century, or the current century. Mine is from the old century. So you have to like scoot it up. And then it's too far, so you have to bring it back. And then to lock it, because when you get in your cars, I see you fancy people out there, when you get in your cars, it goes into memory, because it remembers where you were. Mine doesn't. I have to figure out, and then I have to lock it like, click. like that. You got to click, because if you don't click it before you drive, while you're driving along, it'll click itself, and that could be dangerous, right? So I have to go through a lot with this car after my son borrows it, right? So I figure for my retirement, when I get to the age of 59 and a half, a huge decision I'm going to have to make. Do I get my two-seater sports car now, or do I get it later? Two-seater sports car. A, he won't be able to fit in it. B, he can't drive a stick. C, I want him to always remember that I love him, but he's going to have to call Uber because can't drive my car. So you're going to have that same question when you get to age 59 and a half. It could be your dream car, it could be debt, it could be a mortgage, it could be that once-in-a-lifetime trip. You're going to have to ask yourself, do I take that money out before I retire or after I retire? If I take it out before I retire, it's called a what? Age-based withdrawal, exactly. If I take it out after I retire, it's called a partial withdrawal. We cannot give you advice, but we can tell you how the system works. If you take an age-based withdrawal, you will be taxed on that money in addition to your income. As I stated before, it could put you in a higher tax bracket. When you get to retirement, theoretically, you're going to be in a lower tax bracket. So if you wait until retirement and get a partial withdrawal, yes, you'll still have to pay taxes, but not as much as you would have paid when you were gainfully employed. Does that make sense? So that's something that you really want to consider once you get to that point when you know that you're going to need this money as a source of income. Okay? So, delayed withdrawal. Now we're going to talk about full withdrawals. These are the options that you have. Delayed withdrawal. Can everybody see the screen? Okay, good. On the count of 3, I want you all to read what's in the parentheses. Okay? 1, 2, 3. Y'all don't have a choir here, do you? But none of these people are in it, right? Because it's a lot of off-tune, some people participating, some are not. I'm concerned. Let's try it again. 1, 2, 3. Much better, but rehearse before the choir, okay? Leave it in, let it grow. Do you have to take all of your money out when you separate from service? No, absolutely not. You can leave it in, let it grow. That means that if you leave your money in TSP after you separate, you still have access to all of the investment options, so you can move your money around however you see fit. You'll have access to all of the withdrawal options. The minimum account balance that will leave your account open is $200. So I'm going to tell you this, not to frighten you, but just to let you know what's happening as you're getting closer to retirement. As you get closer to retirement, there's a target on your back, and it's for your TSP money. You're going to get all types of invitations to breakfast, lunch, dinner. Women, you're going to be offered a free purse. Men, you're going to be offered a golf club to go with the set. All of these things. And the ultimate objective is for all of these companies to try to talk you out of your money. And so that's important for you to know that you don't have to take it out. But if you opt to take your monies out and you leave $200 in your account, if you ever need to transfer back into the account, you can do that, okay? Because once you transfer it all out, you cannot come back into TSP unless you go through a website titled, let's see if you're writing this down, USA Jobs. To go through that website, get a new job, come back in, automatically enrolled in TSP, and bam, you're back in. How many of you want to do that? Keep $200 in your account, okay? So let's say, for example, you separate from federal service and you're adamant, I am never going to work again. But somebody says, you know what, you have a skill set that our company needs. and we would like for you to work for us part-time. You can participate in our 401k, et cetera. And you say, okay, I'll do it. I'll do it with the best hours available, 10 to 2. And 10 to 2, 4 days a week, I'm your person, woman or man. You work for them for about 5 years and you say, really, I'm done. I'm not working anymore. Whatever you've accumulated in their 401k during that time period, you can transfer into your TSP as long as you have $200 or more in there. Make sense? So that's a good reason to keep those monies open. So currently, the form that you need to complete to do a full withdrawal, which is telling all of your money how you want to get it as income, is TSP 70. Once the new law has been implemented, we will be revising all of the forms. So I want you to stay abreast of the changes via our website. But this TSP 70 form has 3 areas that are very important. They are Section A, which is single payment, bless you. Section B, which is a life annuity, and C, which is TSP monthly payments. So we're going to go over all 3 sections that pertain to the TSP 70. How many of you are planning to, no, I don't want to ask that question because your boss might be in here and you don't want to let them in on your plans too quickly. So for those of you who are planning to retire in less than a year, then you're going to be using the TSP 70 form. I don't want you to panic. The form is 15 pages long. So I said don't panic. Just take a deep breath. You're going to give us a call on the thrift line. We're available from 7 a.m. to 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And when you call us, what number are you going to press? 3. And they can help you with this form. They can help you complete it, okay? So let's talk about single payment. Single payment is just that, a lump sum. If it's traditional, you will have to pay taxes on those monies. You can also transfer or roll over those monies if you choose to do so. If it's Roth, you will not pay taxes on your Roth contributions because you've already paid taxes on those. If it's Roth earnings, the only way that those earnings will not be taxed is if those earnings are qualified. And to be qualified, you must have had your Roth for 5 years or longer, and you must be age 59 and a half or older. You have to meet those 2 requirements to avoid any taxes on the earnings, age 59 and a half and 5 years in the Roth or longer, okay? So that's the single payment. The next is the life annuity. Currently, we contract MetLife as our annuity provider, and once you select the annuity option, you're locked into that option, okay? You cannot change your mind and come back to TSP. It's irrevocable. So let's say, for example, I retire from federal service and I have $200,000 in my TSP. I take $100,000 out and purchase an annuity with MetLife. Now I only have $100,000 with TSP, so I'm a TSP participant, and now I have a $100,000 annuity with MetLife. I'm their participant. The 2 shall never meet again, okay? So again, that's a locked-in process, irrevocable. 3 types of annuities: single life, joint life with a spouse, joint life with other survivor. Then we have some attachments to those. You have survivor benefit, which can be 50% survivor or 100% survivor. I have braces, so things get a little confused right here. So you have 50% or 100% survivor benefit. Those are only available on the joint life option. So essentially what they mean is, let's say I'm getting $1,000 a month. I or my spouse dies, and I've chosen a 50% survivor benefit. Upon the death of one or the other, that will reduce down to $500 a month. If I chose 100% benefit, then upon the death of one or the other, then we'll still continue getting that $1,000 a month, okay? The next option is level payments. Level payments are the same across the board. That means they never change. For the rest of my life, this is how much I'm going to get every month. So if my $100,000 gives me $1,000 a month, that's what I'm going to get for the rest of my life. Increasing payments are available for single life and joint life with a spouse, and that simply means there's a COLA attached to that annuity, that every year it will increase a little bit over time. But with that option, you're going to start out very low as far as a monthly amount so that over the course of your life, it can actually increase, okay? Cash refund is available across the board. Remember the $100,000 that I used to purchase an annuity? Let's say I die after only receiving $50,000 of that annuity. My survivor will get a check for the other $50,000. If I live past receiving the entire $100,000, the onus is now on the insurance company to continue paying me, but the survivor will not receive anything upon my death. Then for single life annuity, there's a 10-year certain. Let's say I'm single. Okay, let's not say it. Let's just be honest. I'm single, and I decide to get a single life annuity for 10 years. For whatever reason, that's how long I need this guaranteed income. If I die after only receiving 5 years of that annuity, then my survivor will get the remaining 5 years. If I live past 10 years, I'll still receive a benefit from the insurance company, an annuity, but there will not be anything available to me for my survivor, okay? So that's how annuities work. And this is just a sample showing you the difference between level payments on the left and increasing payments on the right and the various features that are associated based on what we just talked about. Okay, and you can see that to get the highest benefit would be a level payment annuity with basic features. That's going to give you the highest benefit. The lowest benefit will be an annuity with increasing payments and a cash refund on it. Always remember that an annuity is designed to give you guaranteed income for the rest of your life. It works similar, not exactly, but similar to your pension, because your pension is designed to give you guaranteed income for the rest of your life as well, okay? So now we're on to TSP monthly payments. This is the option that says I'm going to leave my money in TSP and get monthly payments from it that way. That means that I have control over how much I want to get and how I'm investing those monies, okay? Two types of monthly payments. Monthly payments based on fixed dollar and monthly payments based on life expectancy. Monthly payments based on fixed dollar means that you're telling us how much you need to get every month. Current rule, the minimum must be $25, and you can change that amount on an annual basis. The new rules, there is no minimum, and you can start or stop that monthly payment whenever you choose. In addition to that, it will be monthly payments, quarterly payments, and I think annual payments. So you'll get more options that way. TSP monthly payments based on life expectancy, we compute those payments for you using the same tables that we use to compute required minimum distributions for participants. It will automatically ingest on an annual basis because it's always based on the balance in your account as of December 31st, okay? So you may see something different. And whenever you're setting yourself up on monthly payments based on life expectancy and you're under the age of 59 and a half, you will not have a penalty when you set yourself up on those types of payments. That will remain the same with the new rules, okay? So with the current rules, the TSP 70 that we just went through briefly starts your request. It initiates what you want to do. So once you are ready to begin receiving income from your TSP, you would submit the TSP 70. That form is going to be changed, okay? And then once that form has been submitted, if you ever need to make a change, then there's other forms that you will have to complete in order to make those changes. So for example, the TSP 73 allows you to change the dollar amount, and it also allows you to change the direction from where your money is coming. So for example, if you start out with life expectancy, you have a one-time opportunity to switch over to fixed dollar. Once you switch over to fixed dollar, you cannot come back to life expectancy. If you start with fixed dollar, you cannot come to life expectancy, okay? And I'll show you an example of that. And then, of course, we have a form, that will help you to change the way your monthly payments are handled. If you need to update direct deposit, update the way your taxes are being withheld, and we'll talk about that briefly. And then there's also the option of allowing you to take all of your monthly payments, combine it into one lump sum, and have a single lump sum payment sent to you. And you can do that at any time. You see on the screen where it says one time only between October 1st and December 15th. That is going to be done. This is the last year for that, because with the new rules, you will be able to change your monthly payments whenever you want to, or at least once a month. You won't have once a year to do that. Okay? So let's take a look at the mixed withdrawal. So let's say I have $100,000 in my account. And this is how I want those monies to be distributed now that I'm ready to receive income. I want to get $10,000 out as a single payment. I have a traditional TSP. Will I pay taxes? Yes. $20,000 I want to purchase an annuity with. Who is the annuity provider? MetLife. Can I change my mind? No, it's irrevocable. Exactly. 70% I want to leave in my TSP account, which is $70,000. Will I still have access to all of TSP's funds? Yes. I'm going to start out with life expectancy. Can I change my mind and go to fixed dollar? Yes. How many times? One time. Exactly. Good job. So what we recommend that you do, because the length of those forms can be overwhelming, we recommend strongly that you utilize the withdrawal wizards. And I'll show you briefly what that looks like. Because with the wizard, it's going to take you through the form step by step. And if it doesn't equal 100%, or you don't provide the information that we need to complete that form, it will give you an immediate alert, so that by the time you get to the end of the form, you should have what you've been requesting. Okay? So let's say this participant here, I can't remember the balance of his account, but I think it's somewhere around $260,000. He uses one of our calculators. How many of you have logged into TSP.gov? Oh, that's beautiful. I love seeing all hands. That's wonderful. So for those of you who aren't aware, you can now reset your password online. Isn't that exciting? Yeah, it only took 30 years, so don't ask for anything else, okay? Unless you're willing to wait. So you can now, as long as you have your account number or your user ID, if you've forgotten your password, you can reset it online. If you don't have your account number, you will have to give us a call. You'll call 877-968-3778 and press the number 3. And they can they can mail to you your account number, okay? They can't give that to you over the phone. But definitely, if that's your situation, set up your user ID and password so that you can now have full access to your account. So on our website, we have 8 calculators. Those calculators are designed to give you the assistance you need to manage your TSP account. One of the calculators, titled the Retirement Income Calculator, will ask you some information so that you can get an estimate of how your money is going to, what it's going to look like over a course of time. So in this particular example, this participant has approximately $260,000. He wants to see how long his fixed dollar payments will last versus how long his life expectancy monies last. So he's 60 years old. I'm going to come over here. He's 60 years old, right? And he's planning to retire and start taking out his money. If he chooses $1,500 a month, that's going to last until age 85. At that time, his account balance will be 0. Make sense? If he does life expectancy, he's going to start out at approximately $900 a month, and then that money will last over until he reaches the age of 95. But there's this big drop here. So what does this drop mean? Prior to the age of 70 and a half, when we do life expectancy, we calculate those payments using the IRS's single lifetime table. Once the participant reaches the age of 70, we have to switch them from the single lifetime table to the uniform lifetime table because now he's required minimum distribution age, okay? Once that's done, he could see a huge drop. And because he sees that huge drop in his income, he has one of two options. He can say, you know what? This is actually okay. I will now be able to keep more money in my pocket and not have to give all of it to my grandchildren. So I'm going to stay right here. That can be an option, right? Or he can say, you know what? This is not enough. I have expenses that met up to $1,100, and I need that income. So what can he do one time? Switch to fixed dollar. Make sense? So once he gets to here, he can switch to fixed dollar, redo the calculator so he can get an idea of how long his money will last. But you're not locked into this area if it's not enough money. Okay, make sense? You're really quiet. Do you want me to say it again? Yes? No? You okay? I don't do silence well. I don't know what to do. I'm stuck. Okay, that's all I needed. There you go. So you want to use these calculators. If you look up at the top where you see the tabs, you see TSP monthly payments. That means you're leaving your money in TSP. And then you see single life, joint life with spouse, and joint life with other survivors. If you click on those tabs, it will give you an idea of what your annuity will look like over the course of time. Okay? So this is a snapshot of the wizard. As you can see, it's going to ask you for certain information as you're going along. If you are married, once you get to the end of that wizard, you will have to print the form out because we need you and your spouse's notarized signature. Okay? So these are all of the calculators that we have, including the retirement income calculator and just by itself the TSP monthly payment calculator. So the retirement income calculator, make sure you have with you information that is going to give you an accurate estimate. For example, what your retirement income is projected to be, how long do you project to be in retirement, your monthly income, how do you want these monies to grow, etc. Okay? So let's talk about required minimum distributions. Required minimum distribution is the IRS's way of saying there is a little bit of money that you need to give us once you reach the age of 70 and a half or older so that we can get some tax money from you all because you've been in traditional TSP for 30 years and we haven't gotten any tax money from that, right? And you know the IRS, what do they love? They love money, yes. And so this is the required minimum distribution. You only need to do this if you're separated from service. If you plan to continue working from the for the federal government past the age of 70 and a half, you do not have to take your required minimum distribution from your TSP, but you will have to take it from other accounts that you may have. So if you have a traditional IRA, you will have to take your required minimum distribution. If you have a traditional 401k or any of the fours, or a Roth of any of the fours, you will have to take your required minimum distribution. And so for that reason, if you know that you have multiple accounts, you may want to consider combining them, especially if you're planning to work past the age of 70 and a half. So the required minimum distribution is calculated annually. It begins once you're separated. You must take your first required minimum distribution by April 1st of the year following the year you reach age 70 and a half. So let's say, for example, last year I turned 70. This year I turned 70 and a half. I look good for my age, don't I? Next year, April 1st is the deadline for me to take my very first required minimum distribution. We will be notifying you by letter along with how much you need to take out, okay? So how does required minimum distributions work this time? Well, let me mention this. The very first one, you must take out by April 1st, and then every RMD thereafter has to be taken out by December 31st. This is how it's currently working. This is going to change. So you have to be abreast of the website so that you'll know what the changes are. April 1st is the required withdrawal date. But if we don't get that TSP 70 on file, we're going to notify you that you need to complete that TSP 70 so that you can start your required minimum distributions. Okay, remember we talked about the 70? And that's because the current rules require that you set yourself up on monthly payments so that this required minimum distribution can kick in. Okay? The new rules, starting next year, you do not have to set yourself up on monthly payments to take your required minimum distribution. You can just simply take your RMD and that's it. Okay? Make sense? And so with these current rules, this will be the last year for that, saying that if we don't have that 70 on file, then we're going to send you your very first required minimum distribution. And all of these rules are set forth by this process is set forth by us, but the April 1st deadline is from the IRS. There is a penalty associated with not taking your required minimum distribution. How many of you know what it is? Shout it out. Ma'am, I need a percentage of how much money they're going to take.
Whatever the percentage, 10%. Take it out.
How many of you say 10% penalty? Good, good, good. Can I get a 20? Uh-oh. Can I get a 30? No 30s? 40? No 40s? 50. 50% penalty. So half of your required minimum distribution amount will be penalized if you do not take it when you're supposed to take it. So again, if you're planning to retire soon, I want you to go home and set up a file. I want you to title it TSP stuff. Because once you separate from service, we're going to be sending you a lot of notices about what to do with your TSP account. And when you reach the age of 70 and a half, every year thereafter, we're going to be letting you know, especially if you have money in your TSP, what your account balance is and what your required minimum distribution will be. Okay? So you'll have that information available to you in your little file. Okay? So yes, you want to make sure you take your required minimum distribution. How is it calculated? Remember I was talking about if you set up TSP monthly payments based on life expectancy, we use the IRS single lifetime table. Then once you reach the age of 70 and a half, we switch you over to the uniform lifetime table by the IRS so that we can calculate your RMD. Well, this is how it's calculated. On the left-hand side, you'll see age, and next to each age, there will be a distribution period. Treat that distribution period as a divisor. So let's say, for example, all of your required minimum distributions will be calculated on your balance as of December 31st of the previous year. Okay? Always as of December 31st of the previous year. So let's say I'm 70 and a half. The previous year, at December 31st, my account balance was $200,000. If I take $200,000 and divide it by 27.4, I'm going to get approximately $7,300. That means that the IRS needs $7,300 sent for you to withdraw so that they can get the taxes on that amount and satisfy your RMD. Okay? You cannot transfer or roll over that RMD. You cannot take it out and send us a check to put it back in. No, don't do that. That's not right, legal, whatever word you want to use. You can't do that. Okay? You have to put it somewhere else, checking or savings account or something like that, or, you know, call me and we can go shopping, whatever you want to do to get that out, okay? And so every year that amount is going to change based upon your balance as of December 31st. The current rules state that you have to start getting out a monthly payment, right? So that means that $7,300 can be divided by 12, which will give you $608 a month, right? But the minimum amount for TSP monthly payments is what? How many of you remember? $25, exactly. So if you set up a minimum of $25 a month, because you're on the monthly payment schedule, this is the current rules, because you're under the monthly payment schedule, you'll get a 13th check a check at the end of the year that will give you the difference of your RMD so that you will have met your RMD and not be subject to penalties. So we are still working on how the process under the new rules will play out. And then if they want me to come back, I'll come back and share that with you. Does that sound all right? Okay, so that's how the required minimum distributions are calculated all the way up to over age 115. That's going to be my situation. I don't know what I'm going to do yet. But, so what, let me see. I just only have 60 years to go. I can hang in there. Other considerations. Separated employees should not submit your withdrawal paperwork until we get your separation code. Remember I talked about that? We have to have your separation code in order for us to process your withdrawal paperwork. So if you complete these 15, 16 pages of forms so that you can start taking your withdrawal, and we get it before we get the separation, we'll hold that form for about 30 days. If we still don't get the separation code from your agency, we'll reject that form and you'll have to complete a new one. So definitely make sure we have your separation code before you submit any paperwork. You can either contact your payroll office to see if they've sent it. You can call us, press the number 3. We'll look up your account to see if that code is on there. If it is, you have the option to either mail us the form or fax us the form. Our request is that you do not do both. Either fax it or mail it, okay? Married participants, if you are married, we need you and your spouse's notarized signatures, okay? Before you can actually withdraw any monies. And then once those signatures are notarized on the form, you can submit them to us. Spouses have rights to your monies as well, okay? If you are FERS or uniform services, we need your spouse's notarized signature. If you're CSRS, we don't need your spouse's notarized signature. We're just going to tell them what you're doing anyway. Okay. Yes, we're tattletales for service people. Exceptions. If for whatever reason you don't know where your spouse is, you can complete a TSP 16 for spouse's whereabouts unknown. Okay? That lasts up to 90 days. So every 90 days that you do not know where your spouse is, you'll have to complete that form. I'm just going to go out here on a limb. I've never been married. I don't know what it's about. But if you lost your spouse, can you work that out before you submit these forms, please? We'd appreciate it. Thank you. Current rules. When you take your money out, it comes out pro rata. That means however it's allocated in the account is the exact way that that withdrawal will be allocated. So if you have $200,000, half of it is traditional, half of it is in Roth, you get $1,000 out, we're going to pull half of it out of traditional, half of it out of Roth. The new law will allow you to choose how you want your money to come out. Do you want it to come out of traditional, or do you want it to come out of Roth, or you still want it to come out pro rata between the two? Okay? So you have a little bit more flexibility with that. Tax withholdings. So we talked about single payments, we talked about age-based withdrawals, we talked about partial withdrawals, final withdrawal following a series of monthly payments. And if you set your TSP account up to get monthly payments, but based on fixed dollar, and it runs out in less than 10 years, all of those payments every month or on a lump sum are subject to be transferred or rolled over. If you decide to get the monthly payments out, monthly, every month we're going to withhold 20% in taxes if you decide to take a distribution, or you can roll it over or transfer it. Lump sum, distribution, 20% withheld. Does that make sense? Okay. Monthly payments for 10 years or more, or monthly payments based on life expectancy, those monthly payments are not entitled to be transferred or rolled over. You must take those as distributions and pay taxes on it. The default tax withholding is married with 3 dependents. But because it's over 10 years, you can tell us how you want those monies withheld. You can say, I want to decrease the amount of taxes being withheld, or you can say, I want to waive having taxes withheld completely, and I'll take care of the taxes when I get my 1099 in at the end of the year. Okay? This changing payment scenario, this is going by the wayside, because remember when we talked about how you can change your monthly payment on 1 year? This is if you're changing your monthly payments on an annual basis. Because of the new law, that's going away. Okay, so if you have these slides, just put a big X next to it, because you can change your monthly payments at least once a month. Okay? Eligible rollover distributions. You like that slide? It's my coworkers. They love doing stuff like that. Traditional TSP. You have options to transfer your traditional TSP to a traditional IRA or a traditional employer-sponsored plan like one of the FERS. If you do that, there is no taxes. If it's a direct rollover, you will have taxes withheld if it's an indirect rollover. Roth TSP can be transferred to a Roth IRA or another Roth employer-sponsored plan. It cannot go into any traditional monies, okay? Whereas your traditional TSP can be transferred to a Roth IRA. If you do that, you will have to pay taxes on that traditional TSP. And of course, you can take it as a distribution and pay taxes. So this is my saying. You want to hear my sayings? I made it up many, many, many years ago. I'm not sure I want you to write it down because I might copyright it. I don't want to have to sue these lovely people in your agency. You ready? Money in hand, taxes to the man. Right? Yes. Money in hand, taxes to the man. Anytime you get a withdrawal from your traditional TSP, what must you pay? Taxes. And to whom? The man. You know what his name is, right? What's his name? Sam, right? So anytime you take a rollover or any type of distribution out, you will have taxes withheld, okay? Don't write that down, because if I hear that on Facebook, I'm going to get y'all, okay? So exceptions to the early withdrawal penalty. The IRS says that if you do not treat these monies as long-term savings accounts, we're going to penalize you. And so these are some ways to get away from those penalties. If you are writing, I want you to write down, make a list of something, okay? Make a list of these ages, and I'm going to tell you what each age means. Okay, the first is age 50. Age 50, age 55, age 59 and a half, and age 70 and a half. So write down 50, 55, 59 and a half, and 70 and a half. Next to age 50, you can do two things. One, catch-up contributions. Two, no penalty for separated public safety employees. No penalty for public safety separated employees. So that means that if you are considered a public safety employee, law enforcement, firefighter, air traffic controller, you leave here, you go to work for Customs and Border Protection. When you retire at age 50 or older and begin withdrawing your monies, there is no penalty on those monies. Okay? Age 55 is for the rest of us. Separate or retire during or after the year of age 55, there is no penalties on your withdrawals. Separate, retire, no penalty, age 55. Okay? Age 59 and a half, we've already talked about that, right? With the 59 and a half withdrawal. Once you reach the age of 59 and a half, you're still employed, or even if you're not employed, there's no penalty. Okay? And of course, age 70 and a half, separate, retire, required minimum distribution. Age 70 and a half, separate, retire, required minimum distribution. So some other exceptions to the IRS early withdrawal penalty: if you're set up on TSP monthly payments based on life expectancy or annuity payments, there's no penalty. No penalties if you're ordered by a domestic relations court to make a distribution, think child support or divorce. No penalties based upon death or made from your beneficiary participant account. We'll talk about that. No penalties in the same year you have deductible medical expenses that exceed 10% of your adjusted gross income. And no penalties if you make a withdrawal because you are considered totally and permanently disabled. Always remember that TSP does not qualify you as being totally or permanently disabled. That's done by the IRS by completing IRS Form 5329. IRS Form 5329. Death benefits. Remember I was telling you, do you remember what form you need to complete if you can't find your spouse? TSP 16. You know, I've spent many years teaching this class. People never forget the TSP 16. I'm not sure if it's the way I'm delivering the information or that you're just stunned that people lose their spouses. Okay, I think it's the latter of the two, you know. Okay, so TSP 3. The reason I bring that up is because you may not know where your spouse is right now, but when you die, they're going to find out you had a TSP account. So you might want to update the TSP 3 while you're looking for said spouse. No, just kidding, just kidding. Seriously, TSP 3, if you don't remember who your beneficiary is, if you no longer like who your beneficiary is, you can complete that TSP 3 anytime. My suggestion, every time you have a life change, update your TSP 3. You can submit it directly to us. Do not give it to your HR payroll department. We need it on our records, or actually your account at TSP, so that if something happens, we'll know how to distribute those monies according to your wishes. Do you have to have a TSP 3 on file? Absolutely not. You do not. If you're comfortable with the statutory order of precedence, then you can remove the TSP 3 from your account or not submit one at all. What's the statutory order of precedence? Spouse, natural and adopted children, parents, estate, next of kin, in that order. If you have a child, if you have a stepchild, they're not a part of the statutory order of precedence. So if you want them to reap the benefits of your TSP, you must complete a TSP 3. Okay? Upon your death, we will need a TSP 17 from your beneficiary with your death certificate attached to it, certified death certificate. We are now printing beneficiaries on statements, quarterly statements and annual statements, and they should be on your account when you log in. If they're on your account when you log in, or if you want to update your information, you can actually use the Death Benefits Wizard. Just simply log in, click on Designate New Beneficiaries, follow the instructions on the website, then print the form out because we need you to get a signed witness. And then you can fax it or mail it in to us. The information is on the form, okay? And if you really want to know who's currently your beneficiary, you can just give us a call, press 3. We'll give that information to you. Or you can just do this and it'll override whatever's in the system. If you are married, upon your death, your spouse will have a TSP account set up automatically from them. It's called a beneficiary participant account. They will have access to all the things that you did. They'll have access to the withdrawal forms, the withdrawal options, and the investment options. That account that they have set up will be put into a life cycle fund according to their date of birth. Once that account is set up for them, they must then submit a TSP 3 to designate beneficiaries on what is now their account, okay? Also remember that once they set up beneficiaries, no one else gets a TSP 3 account. That's it. It's not Elizabeth Taylor's TSP. It's yours. One per spouse, okay? After that, their designated beneficiaries will be able to take those monies as distributions. Also, if you die and you were receiving required minimum distributions or you're about to receive required minimum distributions, once you would have reached the age of 70 and a half, your spouse will begin taking required minimum distributions on your behalf, okay? Payments to non-spouse beneficiaries, they have one of two options. They can either take a distribution from which we'll withhold 20% for taxes, or they can transfer those monies to an inherited IRA. If they transfer those monies to an inherited IRA that's not within TSP, we can't help them with that. We don't have the information. So we strongly suggest that you reach out to a trusted tax advisor or financial advisor to help you with the process of an inherited IRA. But it essentially works similar to a required minimum distribution in that they will have, the beneficiary will have to take a minimum amount out starting December 31st of the year following your death and every year thereafter, okay? So this is what you need to do. I'm going to show you where the withdrawal booklet is and the tax notice are, because those two forms, those two pieces of information will answer all of your questions regarding the withdrawal process. But the biggest thing is you want to make sure that all of the information that you have on file, specifically your address, is up to date. Once you separate from service, you'll then be able to log in online and update your address whenever you need to, or you can give us a call and we'll do it for you. But before you retire, it has to go through your payroll office or MyPay. Make sure before you submit the documents that we have a separation code. Remember I talked about that? Because once we get the separation code, you'll get a packet of information. So you get that packet of information. If you're ready to start getting monthly payments, you can submit that, your withdrawal papers. You do not have to take any action immediately upon retirement. In fact, I would suggest that you wait a couple of months because you want to see how your new income sources are going to come in and how your expenses are going to have to play on that so that you don't take too much of your TSP or not enough. You'll get exactly what you need. Does that make sense? If you have a loan on your account at the time of separation, how many days do you have to get rid of that loan? 90 days, exactly. And should you do the 15 pages or 16 pages, because I don't know what the new form, how long the new form is going to be, should you do those by hand or by Wizard? We suggest you do it by Wizard. Doing it by hand means that according to our statistics, when people do it by hand, it's the second most rejected form that we receive. So to avoid those rejections and any delay in you getting your monies, we strongly recommend you use the Wizard. Also, TSP doesn't have a backlog of forms that we need to complete. If your form is correct, we will process it immediately and you stand to receive your checks within 7 to 10 business days, okay? If you're married, we need your spouse's notarized signature. And of course, I just stated it, stay in touch. You can change your address by completing TSP 9 when you log in or give us a call on the thrift line. So here's the resources. This is our website. Couple of things. Pay attention to the bulletin board because if there's ever any information that's affecting TSP right now, we post it immediately. So for example, under the bulletin board will be the contribution limits. Right now, under the bulletin board, there's the FAQ for the new withdrawal options. So I strongly recommend you print that out so that you can get an idea of what your options will be when you actually begin taking your money. Also, in this section right here that says forms and publications, every publication that we have is in PDF format. So you can print it out. It looks just like the booklet, and I'll show you what you need. In addition to that, this is just showing you what you can do on your TSP account. The only things that you cannot do as an active employee on your TSP account is change your contribution amounts, change your address, or change your retirement plans, contributing from traditional to Roth or whatever, okay? We are on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. Our handle is TSP4Gov. Go on to TSP just so you can see what people are talking about. Plus, we have videos out there. But YouTube has professionally designed videos that talk about the investment options, withdrawal options, etc. Twitter, sometimes we have a Q&A session on Twitter where you can, in real time, type us questions, and we'll have a trainer and a social media person responding to those answers. So sometimes we do that. If you have, when you log into your account and you have to ask us a question, you can always send us a secure message. Don't leave us any of your PII, but definitely let us know how to get in touch with you. We have a correspondence department that will answer or address all of your questions via email or regular mail. These are the publications. So for you, I want you to take a look at the Withdrawing Your TSP After Leaving Federal Service. You can take a look at that publication now, but it will be revised for when we implement the new law. And then this form right here is my favorite piece. It's the tax notice. It says important tax information about payments from your TSP account. At the very bottom, it will say TSP-536. The reason it's my favorite piece of information is because when you flip it over, it will give you every possible reason for you to take a withdrawal and the tax consequences associated, okay? Also, if you are wanting to name a power of attorney on your account, we have the booklet, Court Orders and Powers of Attorney. Inside that booklet is the exact language you need in order to name a power of attorney. If your power of attorney is different than what's in that booklet, we may reject it. So definitely use that booklet to update that. If you are trying to compare what you have with TSP with what someone is trying to get you to transfer a rollover to, we have the scorecard available. And that will list all of the questions you should be asking that new company and comparing it to TSP to see if it's the right thing for you to do. Your death benefits booklet, some of you may have received this. My suggestion is you can always print out the TSP 17 and put it with your death benefits booklet and put it into your estate planning papers at home so that if something happens to you, your beneficiaries will have the form and the booklet and they'll know what to do. If you're feeling, I don't know, frisky and you want to see how people fight over your money, you can put a copy of your beneficiary form in there. That might be interesting. But I watch a lot of investigation discovery, so I would not recommend you put your statement in there. Might speed up your death. Okay? Estate planning papers. Question time. Any questions? If you have questions, I think those on the phone.
Yeah, we'll start in the room. If you'd use the microphone in the center aisle, the first one to the microphone gets the luxury of turning it on toward the back end. Just move that little dial to the right. Before we take your question, let me just also remind those who are on the phone that we'll take questions through our email inbox. You can email questions to HR Center helpdesk@cms.hhs.gov, and then we'll take questions in the room, and then we'll take questions from the phone line.
Perfect. Yes, sir.
Hi. I think you just mentioned a TSP form 536.
It's a tax booklet. It's not a form. It's a booklet that gives you information on how your withdrawals will be taxed.
Thank you, ma'am.
You're welcome, sir. Thank you.
Hi, I have a
There you go.
I have a question about the life annuity. Now, you said the provider of that would be MedLife.
Yes.
So are we severed altogether with TSP if we decide to go with a life annuity?
You sever the portion of your TSP account that you use to purchase the annuity with.
Okay.
So if you, in my example, I had $200,000. I took half of that and gave it to MetLife.
Okay.
Then I'm now only a participant with TSP for $100,000.
Whatever's left, the balance.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. I have to think a little bit more about that.
Okay.
Any more questions
so
in the room?
It's not a popular option, I must admit. It's the least popular option. And the reason I believe is because most people here are getting a guaranteed annuity when they retire. It's their pension. So, and a lot of people don't want to lock in those monies. Yes, you have to come up to the microphone, but he beat you to it.
Okay, so for the TSP3 designation of beneficiary, I'm single. When I designate the beneficiary, must I provision the beneficiary's social security number, or can I just provide all the information that I have?
You can provide all of the information that you have. We revised the TSP3,
Okay.
and I don't believe social security number is asked for it. I could be wrong, but you can provide everything that you have. Yes, sir.
Follow up to what the lady was just asking about the midlife and why
Yes,
it
sir.
is one of the least desirable options. It's because the discount rate used to calculate those payments are very low. And particularly since we have a low interest rate period now where we're 2-3%. So they really use a low discount rate of those future payments. So you shouldn't use that. When you do the numbers, it's a very poor investment. You're better off, instead of doing one of those annuities, to leave your money invested with the TSP and take it out as you need. Because if you do the numbers, you'll get a lot more out by doing that.
Because it's real interesting, when I did my numbers, actually they came up with the highest amount that I would get. And that's why I was a little curious, because I even talked to my financial planner, and she didn't quite understand what was going on with that.
Did you use the TSP calculator when you used the numbers? And did you select a tab that says?
There has to be a calculation. I'll give you my name and number, but there's something behind that. I've done this for a number of people, and every time the MedLife option is significantly lower than any other choice because of the discount rate and what they're paying. It's really more of an insurance product is what it is.
Yeah.
Okay. Because it's based on your life expectancy. So if you die at any time, you get no residual. Of course, there is a residual option there.
Right.
So I'll give you my name and number, and there's got to be an answer. That's why it's the least desirable, because it's not the best investment.
Thank you so much, sir. Did everybody hear that?
Yeah, I want to follow
Did
up
everybody hear that Arvelo didn't say that? Because I can't give any advice over 33 cents, and he just gave her at least $1.50. Just kidding.
Yeah, I have a question, but first I want to follow up on that because I've been a life actuary before I came here, but on the annuity, as people die, that leaves money to be spread to others. So it depends on what life expectancy table or what table they're using. So that you have to run the calculators because they have different interest rates, they have different rates of survivorship. Right. And you just have to check it at the time you're making a decision. There's no pre-answer, but the question.
Right. Also remember, before you ask your question, also remember that with MetLife, you cannot contact them for an estimate until after you have purchased the annuity. I know it sounds bad. I get it. I really do. But that's how it works. And so that estimate that's on tsp.gov is the best that we can actually give you at the time. Sorry, it's the rules. Yes, ma'am.
My question is about contributions in the year you retire.
Yes.
I'm expecting I might retire next spring at the earliest, but later. But how to maximize the catch-up and the contributions, or do I really at some point need to pick a date ahead of time? Because I like the catch-up, or this said something about you can say your intention is the whole year. What if my intention is half a year or?
Well, here's the thing. As long as your contributions are projected to max out at the end of the year, if you retire before the end of the year, there's no penalty, no negative, anything will happen. We just need to know that you understand that you need to fully commit to the regular contributions before you commit to the catch-up contributions, because there's no matching on the catch-up. So for example, if you're planning to retire you know, in the spring, that's going to be approximately 2, 4, 6, 8, maybe 8 pay periods or so, 8, 9 pay periods. So you, yeah, about 8 or 9 pay periods. You may want to just just take that 18.5 or whatever the IRS will give to us for 2019 and spread that out over that time period, because at least you know you're going to get your matching contributions.
Would I be better off to spread it out 6 months to try to maximize it, or like what way to err? And I may work all year, or at some point do I just need to decide?
It just depends on when you plan to retire. That's your end goal. You have to spread it out from the January 1 or the very first pay period in January to the date you plan to retire.
And if
I can't tell you what that is.
Right, but what are I'm thinking which way to err. If I go longer, is there a penalty, or
There's never a penalty. There's never a penalty to put money in.
Okay.
There's only a penalty if you want to take money out and you don't fall into those ages that I gave to you.
But I might lose my matching. I think the example you gave.
You won't lose your matching.
I may not lose it, but I might not.
You won't get your matching.
I might not. Right.
You will only get a matching if you make a contribution.
Okay.
So if you retire in October, you're not going to get matching for November and December anyway, because you're not contributing. So in order for you to ensure that you get a match every pay period, you need to make a contribution towards the 18.5 every pay period, because the contributions towards the catch-up does not have a match. So what I'm saying is, this is what I'm saying. If right now this year you're eligible to put in $24,500, $18,500 of that is going to be matched, right? Well, not $18,500 going to be matched, but you're going to get a match for whatever you're contributing towards the $18,500, correct? If you decrease the time period, then you want to take that $18,500 from the very first pay period to when you plan to retire, your very last pay period, whether it's May, June, July, or whatever. So if that's 13 pay periods, then you can take that $18,500 divided by 13 pay periods. You put a contribution in every pay period under regular contribution, you're going to get a match every pay period for those regular contributions. And then after you retire, that's it. No more contributions from you or your agency.
So the matching is basically an active employee benefit. Just look at it that way. Okay, and then the rest, I can make it work out the same, the annual contributions. It's just the matching. Yeah, that helps. It's
based on your regular contributions.
Right.
So as long as your regular contributions are 5% or higher, you're going to get your full match. So you don't worry so much about the match. Worry about how much you're contributing, because the match is automatic. You're going to get it no matter how many pay periods you put in, as long as you're putting in a contribution each pay period.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Okay, if you're still confused, see me afterwards. Okay.
Okay, after I step away from service, and I don't want to make any, have any withdrawals until I turn 70 and a half. Do I still have to fill out the withdrawal form when I separate from service?
No, sir. You will only submit the withdrawal form once you want to begin receiving money. So once you reach the age, if you want to wait until 70 and a half, then we're going to notify you at least a year before then to let you know what your required minimum distribution is going to be, and well, not going to be, but that you're going to have to take out required minimum distribution. Then January of the year you turn 70 and a half, we're going to send you a letter letting you know how much.
Right.
And then you can submit the withdrawal paperwork to take that required minimum distribution.
Okay, so if I want to wait till 70 and a half, I don't have to do anything until you notify me that it's time to start thinking about it.
Exactly. The only thing that you can do, you still have access to all of the investment options. So if you want to move your money amongst the investment options, you always have access to that, but you do not have to touch your money until you get to you're ready to take your required minimum distribution.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome, sir. Thank you. Hello, ma'am.
Hi. So for payments to non-spouse beneficiaries, if you have maybe 2 or 3 people that the money is going to be distributed to, do they each have a choice in determining whether they want to get a single payment or transfer it to
An inherited IRA?
Yes.
Yes.
And okay, that was the question. I just
Yes.
wanted to make sure one person didn't have to decide and they all had to do it.
Oh, no.
That would be a fight.
Yeah, no. You must be talking about your children.
Yes.
Yeah. No, they can decide how they want those monies on their own. Okay. You're welcome. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon. Great presentation.
Thank you, sir.
Question is, after retirement, or I guess even now, can money be distributed? If you're in a life cycle fund, can you also take part of that? Like say 50% or 70% or whatever, and then also have part of the investment in the other funds, the GFS, et cetera?
You mean how you're contributing now? Or do you mean taking money in hand, taxes to the man?
The allocation of what's in the fund.
The allocation of what? You're asking me how to allocate your money in your account? You know that exceeds 33 cents, right?
Not for you to decide, but is that available still after retirement?
Of course. As long as you have money in TSP, what's the minimum amount you need to have in your account to keep it open? $200. So as long as you have money in your TSP account, $200 or more, you can allocate that money throughout the 5 core funds or the life cycle funds.
What about both? Can you have it in life cycle and also in the others?
You can.
Okay.
Be very careful. We don't want you to attempt to chase the market, because you'll do more harm than good in your account. So what we want you to be very aware of, especially if you're retirement age but you're not ready to take your money, is the volatility of the market. So you don't want to be too aggressive that if the market goes down, the income that you were expecting to receive from it is not there because you were too aggressive.
Gotcha. Thanks.
Okay? You can do it as many times as you want to till I say stop.
So with respect to the RMDs,
Yes.
does one have the choice of which investments the money has to come from?
No. The only choice you have is either from, with the new law, starting next year, your only choice will be, do you want to take it from traditional TSP or your Roth TSP if you have one, or a combination of both. But you cannot choose between the core funds or the life cycle funds.
From where the money will come. Cannot
Exactly.
do that. Okay, thanks.
Exactly. You're welcome. Yes, sir.
But you can always go back in and adjust your allocation.
Yes.
So if it comes out one way and you want to reconfigure it, or you can go back in and do an adjustment.
If you feel like you're too aggressive, then you can go in and make it more conservative. If you feel like, you know what, I'm not going to need to touch my money for another 5 or 6 years, maybe I need to be a little bit aggressive, you can go in and change your allocations at that time as well. Okay?
One comment to her question about trying to balance out in years that you're going to separate service. One of the key factors is you always want to get that match as much as you can.
Yes.
So if you're not sure when you're going to retire, just take out the fixed amount, which is the $712 throughout the year. I would increase maybe the catch-up from the $231 a pay to get to the $6,000. Maybe you do a $460 a pay in the beginning of the year, so you match out the catch-up in the first 6 months, and then you do the $712 throughout. And then once you know when you're going to retire, just increase it to max it out at that point. Because you always have to have at least 5% in each pay period to get the match.
The full match, exactly.
Arvelo, we'll go to the...
And you can give your name and number to her, too. Or she can call us and press number 3.
We're going to open up the
Thank
phone
you.
lines. Danielle, can you open up the phone lines, please? And we'll start with...
Sure.
Thank you so much. We'll start with Region 1. Any questions from Region 1? Any questions from Region 2? Region 3, any questions? Any questions from Region 4? Questions from Region 5? Questions from Region 6?
Yes.
Go ahead.
So I understood you to say if, let's say you work till 75, you wouldn't have to take any RMD out of the TSP until 75, is that correct?
That's correct. So if it's over the age of 70 and a half, then you have to take that RMD by December 31st of any age after 70 and a half.
Okay, and if you're going to continue to work, let's say at age 75, can you take your other IRAs from other jobs that you had and roll it over to the TSP?
You can, but here's the situation. Because you will be required to take an RMD from traditional IRAs and any of your other employer-sponsored plans, they typically will withhold the RMD for that year and transfer over the balance. So if you have not reached required minimum distribution age, then we suggest that you start that process sooner rather than later.
Okay, so if I did it before 70 and a half, for the first payment they would take something out, but not for the later payments because it would be in the TSP by then?
Only once you've reached the age of 70 and a half. So if you send it in at 69 or 70, as long as 70 isn't in the same year as 70 and a half, then they will not withhold that RMD. They will only withhold the RMD once you reach the age of 70 and a half or older.
So that would be kind of a way to avoid paying taxes until you fully retire.
Correct.
Okay. Now, what happens if you had some IRAs that you made years and years ago, and you already paid taxes on them? You wouldn't be able to commingle that, would you?
We don't take after-tax IRAs. We only take traditional IRAs.
Okay. Okay. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Any additional questions from Region 6? So before we get to Region 7, Arvelo, there's a question in our inbox, and it reads, is it correct that at age 55 there is no 10% penalty for withdrawal?
Correct. As long as you separate or retire during or after the age of 55.
Okay. Region 7 questions?
Oh, am I still supposed to be on the camera?
Any questions from Region 8? Any questions from Region 9?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
I want to know on the beneficiary form, TSP 3, can you list a charity organization as a beneficiary?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. We may need to have their EIN number, I think it is. Yeah.
Arvelo, will or can TSP take taxes out of partial withdrawals?
We will.
Region 10, any questions?
Anytime, again, back to my saying, withdraw, money in hand, taxes to the man, whether it's a partial withdrawal, full withdrawal, a loan that you didn't pay back, it's all considered withdrawal and it's all considered taxable distributions.
Okay. Region 10, any questions? Question in the inbox. I've designated a legacy trust in my minor son's name as my TSP beneficiary. Upon my death, can that roll over to an inherited IRA?
Yes. As far as I know. I'm not going to, I know that sounds very confident because I'm about 98% sure. But again, we have no information on inherited IRAs. You really need to meet with a trusted tax advisor to go through that. So however your TSP3 is designated is how we'll send it out. So for example, if you just leave your child's name as a just your child as a beneficiary, then that will definitely be transferred to an inherited IRA if that's the way you want it to be.
Okay. Any other questions from the phones?
If you separate from the government, do you have to take your TSP right then?
You all answer that question.
No. Thank you.
You're welcome. That was cute.
Any other questions from phone lines? Danielle, you can remute the phone lines. And there's a question in the room.
Hello.
Hi. If you retire from federal service and you're still working outside, are you subject to the RMD? You are. It's just that if you're still working for the government, you're not subject to it.
You're not subject to the RMD. You're always subject to the RMD. Let's just get that straight. Nobody's going to get off this earth without that RMD being paid. So you're always subject to that. If you're still working for the federal government once you reach RMD age, then you don't have to take it. Once you separate from service after RMD age, you will have to take it. And vice versa. If you have traditional IRAs or any of the FERS, monies in those, and you're working for the federal government, you're going to start having to take RMDs from those other institutions as well. The only investment option that does not have a required minimum distribution is a Roth IRA. Every single other one does. So that leads to this, which I don't think I mentioned. If you have a Roth TSP and you get to RMD age and you don't want to take your required minimum distribution, you can transfer your Roth TSP into a Roth IRA, and then you won't have to take your RMD. Okay? Yes, sir.
I'm sorry, does that mean you have to transfer it out of the TSP?
Yes. Because the TSP does not have Roth IRA. IRA is an individual retirement arrangement or account, and so that has to go through a bank, credit union, mutual investment firm, those types of places.
So if I have both, so if I don't want to take a minimum distribution, would somebody have to take a minimum distribution of both the total of the Roth and so the Roth needs to be transferred out for the year?
If you don't need the money, exactly. Because as long as your traditional and your Roth stay in your TSP account, you are subject to a required minimum distribution for the entire balance. But if you transfer the Roth TSP to a Roth IRA, you do not have to take a required minimum distribution. You can, for all intents and purposes, leave that money as a legacy for your family.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Arvelo from the inbox, there were several ages that you asked us to keep track of, 50, 55, 59 and a half, and 70 and a half?
Yes.
What is the significance, again, of age 55?
When you separate or retire from federal service at age 55 or older, there is no penalty when you withdraw your monies from TSP.
Okay. And age 59 and a half is considered full retirement age for TSP,
No.
correct?
No, 59 and a half is considered no penalties from your withdrawals. And that's across the board. That's with all accounts across the board. 401ks, traditional IRAs, all the FERS. And always remember, these ages are not set forth by TSP. These ages are set forth by the IRS. So the IRS says 59 and a half, no penalty. But that doesn't mean you have to retire at 59 and a half. But what it does mean is that if you're eligible to retire prior to the age of 55 and you decide to do that, it means you'll have to wait till 59 and a half to get a withdrawal without a penalty. So I always say, if you're eligible to retire at 54, please wait. Just wait one more year. You've already put in some decades. One more year won't hurt. And that way, you're saving yourself considerable money when it comes to taking money out. Okay?
I think we've exhausted our questions. We don't have any questions in the inbox.
You've exhausted me, too.
Exhausted, right, both. So before we dismiss, November 6th is our open enrollment season health fair from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. in this room. Otherwise, we'd like to thank you for coming out. This
Thank you
was
for
really
having
helpful
me.
for us. We appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you for your help.
It started clicking.